Welcome to the Productive Introvert Community Podcast, helping ambitious introverts who feel deep down that they can add more value to the world to really thrive in their work. I'm Mariela Franker, and I'll be sharing what I'm learning as an introverted entrepreneur, a natural productivity coach, and a mom while I build my business online and take care of my family and myself. In this podcast, you'll learn the mindset and the practical steps to naturally increase the impact of your work while making space for your unique strengths as an introvert. In this episode, we're talking about time management. Time management for introverts. So this is the core of what I do, what I help people with. And I'm just going to start by talking you through kind of the foundation, the basic concept of how I think about time management and some things that you might want to look out for if you're an introvert and you feel like you just can't get a handle of your time. So many people tell me that they just feel like their day kind of runs out of control, that they don't have the time to do the projects that they want to do. They get stuck doing all sorts of shoulds. Everything that should be done always takes priority, right? Especially if you're a coach or a service provider, if you're a creative, you work with clients, or if you're working in a bigger organization and you work in a team, other people's requests and needs and asks, they always seem to come first. Most of the introverts that I work with are very empathetic, intuitive people who really want to make other people's lives better. They're the type of people who are very quick to say, oh yeah, I'll help you out, and let me do that. And I recognize that a lot, guys. The funniest example that I have of that is me at a party. I'm not the one who's going to be the host, obviously. I'm more the person who sits in the back next to the drinks. Usually, I find myself a little spot. So many times I end up pouring drinks and bringing around the snacks. When I see the host with like 2 plates, I'm like, oh, let me help you. I'll do that for you. And these are the types of people that I work with too. People who genuinely want to help others. Now, the tricky thing is, this is a beautiful, beautiful quality, first of all. It is something that lights other people up. And by doing that, that's kind of your superpower, right? That's how you light up. But everything that has kind of like a very strong quality, very positive quality, can also kind of be a pitfall, something to look out for. Because you see, the tricky thing for a lot of introverts that I work with is that because they give so much, they don't get that energy back enough. They don't recharge enough to fill themselves back up. And when you give the whole time in that way, you can easily deplete your energy. And you end up feeling exhausted all the time. Or when the work is done and you finally do have time to work on your own beautiful projects, you just don't have it. You are done, And then we haven't even talked about family life and stuff and everything, blah, 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 blah. We are so stretched so thin sometimes. So we started with time management. And as you see, within five minutes, we have wandered right smack into energy. And this is kind of the basis of how I think about time management. I feel that a lot of the time we get stuck on time and if I can just fit more into this busy day, if I can, make sure that I listen to this course while I'm trying to respond to email, if I can multitask and do, multiple things, it would free up time in other spaces and I can cram more stuff in there. So we get stuck on managing our time so we can do more things. But what we forget is that not every hour is the same, even though sometimes we treat it like that, right? We just look at our calendar, okay, I have so many hours to spend today, and then this takes me an hour, this takes me 3 hours. But not every hour is the same. For example, if you sit by yourself and work for an hour on a project that you love, you may find that has a very different quality to it energy-wise than if you're on a Zoom call with 50 people and you kind of feel like this is not a very useful call. That hour can feel much more energy demanding than that hour that we described in the first example, right? So treating every hour the same is kind of like it's flawed. And it's even more important when you're an introvert because energy is such a big theme for introverts. So this kind of brings us back to what it actually means to be an introvert. And we talked about that a little bit in the very first episode of this podcast, episode 1. The main and most important difference between an introvert and an extrovert, for example, is in the way that we process the world and replenish our energy. I think the easiest way for you to kind of tell if you're more introverted or more extroverted is to finish this sentence. After a busy day, most of the time I like to ... So let me give you a second to think about that. And how would you finish that sentence? Most introverts would finish it something along the lines of, after a busy day, most of the time I like to settle on the couch with a good book or watch a movie by myself. Whereas most extroverts finish it something along the lines of, after a busy day, most of the time I like to hang out with my friends. I like to go out for a drink. So do you see that difference? Most introverts choose quiet and solitary activities to recharge themselves and to replenish their energy. And that's because as introverts, that's the way that we recharge. That's the way that we get our energy back, by relaxing and just spending time alone. Whereas extroverts, they get their energy from interacting with other people. So this is why this theme is the most important theme for introverts, in my opinion. And when we talk about time management and about productivity, to me, it's the missing link. Because when you focus like only on time, inevitably you start stretching yourself too thin, right? Because you're gonna look for those nooks and crannies to put more stuff. And the list of things to do is never ending. It just grows and grows. Like, who has a to-do list that only seems to multiply every day? Or who doesn't have the feeling that we're like juggling like 50 balls at the same time and we're just like stressed out that one of them is gonna fall? But when you realize that not every hour is the same in terms of energy spend, that's when you realize, oh, okay, don't focus on time, but focus on energy instead. So this is one of the things that I teach. When you shift your focus from time to energy, it completely changes the way that you experience your day. So how do you focus on energy? The first challenge, especially for introverts, is to take a really hard look at how you are recharging. You see, Busy does not equal productive. When we're busy, our attention goes to whatever pops up in front of us. But when we're productive, we place our attention on the few things that have the most impact. So we want to get away from that busy, frantic feeling. And taking a look at your energy and how you recharge is a way to guide you to make decisions on what you spend your time on. You see? So let's talk about recharging first. So recharging, huge theme, right? We already talked about why that's so important for introverts specifically. And a lot of introverts, a lot of people that I know in general, we don't recharge enough. We just don't. One of the reasons is because we usually think about recharging as sleeping, okay? Everybody needs sleep, yes. But introverts, we don't just need sleep. We also need quiet time. Because one of the characteristics of introverts is that we spend a lot of time in self-reflection, right? Thinking over things. And we actually need to go through this process to formulate our ideas and our thoughts. It's by allowing and making space for this process that we really work at our best. And a lot of the time, this processing happens during quiet time. So when I talk about recharging for introverts, I don't mean just sleep. I also mean quiet time. And quiet time during the day, having little snippets of that, and little breaks and rests is one of the most effective ways to manage your energy and then by extension your time. And this can be, you can start really simple with it. It can be as simple as taking a 5-minute break after that Zoom call with 50 people in there, right? Because as soon as you feel that little bit of a dip and that fatigue set in, instead of saying, oh no, I have to still finish all these things, and if I don't do it, then blah, 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 we start having all these doom scenarios. But instead of focusing on, oh no, I only have 3 hours left and I have all these things to do, respect your energy level and take that 5-minute break. Don't take your phone. The phone is very distracting. And like I said, when it comes to being productive instead of busy, it's about choosing where you place your focus. So in a break, the focus is on the break. So whatever helps you to feel energized and to help you to recharge, just do that. Some people like to go for a short walk the dog, do a 5-minute meditation, just stare out the window you can put a little alarm clock if that's what you need. But allow yourself to take that break and to recharge. So instead of cramming all these things into the little nooks and crannies of your day, what if you would use those little nooks and crannies to have a little recharge moment? See what that does for you. And like I said, don't be worried about making this too big, and just start with that 5-minute break, that one thing after that Zoom meeting. So just to sum up a little bit, because I really want this concept to sink in. One of the reasons I think that we have so much problems with time management is because of the way that we think about our time, that we treat every hour the same. But that focusing on energy, especially for introverts, is a much more effective way to choose what you spend your time on. The biggest issue for a lot of introverts is that we don't recharge enough. And we can go very deep into this, but I want to give you this surface level overview first. Because of the way that we process the world, and because we recharge through slow and solitary activities as opposed to interacting with other people. Because that's part of our natural process, having moments to recharge during your day is really, really important. And I'll give you a little bit of a reassurance, because a lot of people, when they start practicing with this, or they first hear it, they're like, oh, I don't know, feels like a waste of time. I should be doing more productive things, more important things, and taking a break. This will only slow me down. I have deadlines. So again, all those doom scenarios, right? But trust me, once you start practicing this and start bringing more of that recharge in your day, it is not going to slow you down. It is actually going to speed you up long term. Because what I've seen is that when we make space for our natural process and we allow ourselves to recharge, our energy levels go up. We become more effective. We start making the connections that we need to make. We start making them faster because our brain isn't clogged with all that extra stuff anymore. So over time, as you get more comfortable with this and you start learning what actually works for you personally, this is not going to slow you down. This is going to speed you up, baby, okay? So a little reassurance, because I can almost hear you, like, and I was like that too. So no worries, I got you. Okay, so I'm curious to know, have you ever thought about energy and time management in this way? Is this completely new to you, or does it make sense? Maybe you're like, I don't know about this at all, in such a way that I'm not even willing to try. Or do you think, okay, I could give this a try, it kind of makes sense? Please let me know. I'm very, very curious to hear your take on this. So because this is such a big theme for introverts, it is one of the main things that I teach. So next month, I'm opening up my online course about energy management again. This will be the last time that I run this particular course. It's going to get a major reboot next year. So this will be the last time that you're going to be able to get this course for this price. If you're interested to hear more, send me a DM or an email with the word energy and I can tell you more about it. I'll also leave the page with more information about that course in the show notes of this episode. Thank you, and let's talk again next week. Thank you for listening to the Productive Introvert Community Podcast. If you're an introverted entrepreneur and you're ready to thrive in your own way, then connect with me on thefrankermessage.com/contact.